Hi, welcome to this week's episode of Project OZTOG. This week we're joined by another guest. So quick introduction all around. I'm Rob, here's Chris, and
Hi guys.
Chris, over to you, mate. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Chris, and I am a digital operator and stills assistant, mainly for fashion, but starting to venture into, advertising work as well. So, which is,
It's really cool. Do you freelance or do you work for yourself or do you work for a studio or how does that work?
mainly freelance. So I pretty much, the way I get work is mainly through photographic agencies or photographers. I do work with, I guess, handful that I regularly assist.
Yep.
So a few of them are Christina Yanko, Pierre Toussaint, Jed Cooney, few name drops, but those guys I work here and there, which is always great. But yeah, mainly through just people I've met and some studios,
Yep.
you pick up a thing or two when you work, like pick up gear, drop off gear, some studio members, they remember you and they'll kind of recommend you out there. So it's just kind of word of mouth.
Fairly regularly, or that you're picking up and dropping off?
No, I'd say 50-50 normally, because now I'm only digi-opping. Mainly the stills assist would go get the gear, or either they'd get a delivery. Especially during COVID, I think most of the time, a lot of agencies and companies, they're opting for delivery, or even, sometimes they use their own gear now because, some rental houses, they're not open because of COVID.
Yeah,
You progressed that role from being a photographer yourself, right?
Yes and no. I wanted to try my hand at assisting, and I find that when you do assist, you learn a lot. Like, you figure out new techniques in studio. You find out stuff about lights, workflows of different people. I think a lot of hands-on experience is always the best way to learn.
Now,
I think
I've kind of got the questions tailored around what I thought you kind of do and what I knew you kind of do as a little bit as well. Something that really interests me is what you use to edit with, because I know personally I'm a Photoshop and Lightroom person, but imagine you use your gear a lot more frequently than me, being a still assistant. Like, so tethering and stuff is pretty much what you do every day.
Yep.
So I'm kind of interested to hear what you think of, or what you do or use for editing in regards to computer programs. Chris F, what do you use to, I guess, edit with? You'd be the same as me, would you?
Yeah, so I generally use Lightroom. Lightroom's probably one of my key editing programs for my stills.
Yep.
A little bit of Photoshop, not a whole lot, but a little bit. And then for my video, pretty much all in Final Cut.
Okay.
Yeah, I really like Final Cut. I think it's very intuitive and super user-friendly program.
I have to admit, video is only something I just got into, so I'm not well versed in the video editing world. I've tried DaVinci Resolve and stuff like that. However,
What do you think of it?
On iMovie, it works really well for what I need to do it with, and at the moment, that's where I'm at. So, Chris C, over to you, mate.
Okay. Pretty much editing. Well, I mean, I guess workflow, majority of all of us, we use a program called CaptureOne. I think it's the most, love-hate relationship about that app, or, about that program. But I mean, it's become the industry standard, and it's got a bit of its drawbacks.
Why do you think
it's
it's
got a lot of potential.
Why do you think the industry standard?
Sorry, say that again.
I said, why do you think it's become the industry standard?
I actually have no idea. I believe that everyone started with Lightroom tethering,
Right.
and then you know, it is great, but I wish they did they actually shot to the computer rather than to the card, then transferred to the computer, because I think that would speed up the workflow. But I think the reason why I guess Capture probably, I don't know, they probably marketed to be a faster kind of, Lightroom program. You don't have to wait. It's pretty much speedy, and I think, I don't know, probably a handful of people just picked it up and then found it a lot easier to use rather than, Lightroom. Yeah, you're spending, 5-10 minutes waiting for everything to import after you shoot,
Capture One is just a lot more streamlined for your workflow, is it?
It's pretty much, yeah. It's getting better and better, I think Capture, as I said, has a lot of potential, but it's working for me, working for a lot of people, it's just a really great system. They've pretty much almost nailed, I suppose.
Cool.
Yeah.
Because you used to shoot tethered with your stuff, didn't you, Rob?
Yeah, I shot tethered a few times. Yep, I used to tether with Lightroom.
Right.
In the studio, when I had studio work and I wanted to tether it, I would use Lightroom a lot of the times. I've actually used Lightroom also to do photo boost with, and found that still was okay for me. That I never experienced the long lag times, but I'd imagine it's because the format I was shooting when I had the photo boost set up was probably a smaller JPEG, like JPEG medium, rather than a RAW file. So, and it was a couple photos every few seconds rather than multiple photos every minute. So I'd imagine that's kind of, maybe Capture One just manages that traffic flow better, Chris. I don't know, but I've always used Lightroom.
Yeah. And what exactly do you, Rob, use Photoshop for?
More detailed edits. So often or not, I will start off in Lightroom personally and do overall edits. So like your kind of universal edits on the image. So color adjustments in regards to color exposure, temperature, all that type of thing. And then I'll often, if I want to say exposure blend or focus blend, I'll chuck it into into Photoshop, skin softening, add blurs and stuff like that, all in Photoshop.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
I generally use it for photo manipulation. So if I'm putting like special effects or something on a photo, or if I'm trying to be a bit tricky with the photo like that. But generally, I just use Lightroom because I'm not that skilled in Photoshop.
Lightroom's come along leaps and bounds, I feel, but I use Lightroom mobile a lot in regards to like being on a tablet and stuff like that. So I find NCC works, on being able to edit on your phone or tablet, then be able to pick that up on the computer is just really easy. And I really like that. So it's handy for me in my workflow. Like I said, I don't have to have the tethered thing. So I'd imagine Chris's experience with it is very different to what mine and yours are, where the studio and the volume of photos coming through is probably what's holding it up.
Actually, I haven't actually used was it Lightroom for, I think what is it, 3-4 years at least. I don't know. I
find that really interesting.
Then,
I've never touched Capture One, so I've always just gone to Lightroom or Photoshop. It's been easy. It's funny. It's just what I've always used. So I would like to give Capture One a go.
Well, I mean, it was an interesting leap. I think I don't know. I used to use Lightroom for pretty much everything. It was easy to copy paste any adjustments or settings and stuff like that. And then once I think when I studied in uni, they showed us Capture One, and then I was just like, oh wow, this thing looks so it's huge. It's like, oh, I don't really want to use it. I'd rather, why can't you guys use Lightroom and stuff like that? And then once they showed us, you get used to it pretty much. You pick up one thing, you drop another. But I mean, it's like, I think Lightroom and Capture is almost quite similar, which actually they're currently they're currently trying to market themselves as a more professional Lightroom. I don't know if you've seen the latest, the latest updates. They've started to, take away some of the fundamental features of captureone for digiops. And then, yeah, I don't know. It was a big leap, I suppose, for Lightroom to captureone, but it is it took me at least a year and a half to figure out the entire, the entirety of that program. So, yeah.
What computer setup do you use?
Okay, so computer setup. So I pretty much, also another industry standard. Surprisingly, you will not see any Windows OS at all. I don't know why that is. We pretty much, a lot of operators, I've noticed they all use Mac, Mac OS, MacBook Pro. So I currently run an iMac for more serious, big e-com kind of jobs, where I'm exporting, shooting, and everything like that for the photographer and the client. And then I've got a just a basic, well, I guess not really basic, but more of the top line spec of the MacBook Pro 16-inch, which it's worth it's worth forking out a couple more hundred, maybe extra grand or so. It makes life easier, in the long run. Everything processes faster, it's more smoother. Nothing worse than your laptop crashing halfway through a shoot.
Yes.
Because it's not just your reputation, it's actually the budgets that go into a shoot all relies heavily on you. If you come in with a shitty laptop or anything bad,
it slows down everything, right?
Yeah, exactly. These guys, the cost of the studio running, and then the cost of hiring equipment, hiring talent, especially if you've got A-list models or celebrities, and then what have you got? You're just sitting there
subpar.
Yeah, exactly. And it's it is embarrassing, but also you have the potential where you might lose the job, or you have a bad rep, and other people like, oh, he doesn't quite cut it, or like, yeah, he was just very slowed down everything. So I think having good gear goes a very long way. Yeah.
You use Mac as well, right, Chris?
Yeah, I use everything.
Yeah.
That's surprising.
It's just the best for me.
Yeah.
But I did try Windows before I got my Mac.
Yeah.
And I just found, it was a number of years ago now, but I just found that everything was just so much harder to come by. Like, it's better now, admitted, but the Adobe back then, it was so hard to get a Windows version, but now it's so easy. But again, it was a few years ago. So,
See,
but I just find everything's just so much more interesting with Mac, right?
Yeah.
I have to admit, I was an iMac user, so I had a 27-inch iMac, and also a notebook Mac, and a 24-inch iMac, 21-inch iMac as well. And eventually, when they took ages from the die, I had them over 10 years, I think. So they were different ages, but over the course of 10 years, eventually they needed a little bit replaced. And I found the Macs at that time were crazy expensive for what I wanted. So I bought a PC for probably 25% of the price.
Yeah.
So the PC was really good for me, and it's done a really good job, and it still works now, and it's still part of my workflow. However, I've gone back to Mac again. So I've actually got the MacBook Air M1, and it's got one core less for graphics processing than a MacBook Pro M1, and the thing is an absolute machine. And I have an 850, so I use 850 files in RAW, uncompressed. Thing just handles it. Video handles. It's amazing. It's really, really, really good. I think if you're editing 4K footage constantly, you'd probably want the MacBook Pro. But at the moment, the MacBook Air, for what I do, the PC combination works really, really seamlessly. It's just really good.
The only thing I don't like about the Apple system is that if you do want to upgrade any of your drives or anything like that, you basically could buy a whole new system, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just shocking like that.
I have to admit, those little Samsung SSD drives you get, I've been using them now that I've got a Mac again, and they're phenomenal. They're so quick, and you don't have to have anything on the hard drive. That's amazing. It's really, really
What
good.
size do you have?
I have a 1 terabyte one.
Yeah.
But
how do you find that with images and whatnot? Do you just purely use it for your photos and your video?
Yeah, so I've got enough storage. I've got like probably 12 terabytes of external hard drives floating around.
Oh.
So generally, though, my smaller hard drive is just a working drive.
Makes sense.
The drive on my PC and my drive on my PC has 3 hard drives in there, set up differently. The drive on my Mac is purely just a working drive. So photos get edited on there. As soon as they're finished, they go onto the Samsung little external hard drive, and then I file them on the actual proper hard drive system I have and deliver them.
So what about you, Chris? Do you use anything like that?
Okay, so I think always preference on set is an SSD. Like nothing's worse than, you know, marketing team or the client coming in with, you know, one of those WD hard drives, clunky, slow, you know, it's
some of them need power.
Oh God, it's just it's an absolute nightmare. You know, you could be sitting there waiting for everything to transfer over, or it's yeah, I think SSDs. So I've got 2. One is a redundancy drive, which will be for, you know, my laptop during the day. So when the photographer shoots, everything goes into there like a kind of a ghosting drive.
Yep.
If someone drops a laptop, or if I bump the laptop, breaks, or I've got another drive of everything in, you know, that had what the laptop had. And then another drive is just something that I carry around still in a box. So on jobs, sometimes when the client forgets theirs, I often, you know, say to them, hey, I've got a drive on hand, you know, I can just put it on my invoice if you want to, you know, have that. It's always a great option because a lot of the time they tend to go buy one of those, you know, hard disk drives instead of an SSD. But an SSD, you know, just saves time. You know, it's a waste of time for everyone just sitting around waiting for everything. You know,
what's in your photography kit now, Chris? So I guess your kit's going to look very different to what my kit would and what Chris's kit looks like.
Yeah. Well, I actually do have some photos
awesome.
of the setup, but I can also talk you guys through. I don't know if you guys want me to share screen or anything like that, but
talk us through it.
I'll send it to you later.
Yeah. Walk us through, and what I'll do is I'll get you to share the photos with me, and I'll put them in the YouTube video. I'll cut them in now.
Yeah. Okay. So a run through, right? All right. So pretty much, well, essentially especially during COVID, I've had to upgrade pieces of equipment. So at the moment I run, you know, on a day-to-day basis, either will be a laptop or an iMac. And then from that, there will be, I've got a Holyland HDMI transmitter. So that will run from the computer to an external monitor. So this monitor basically is just for viewing for the client. So the client will have access to just, you know, watch it a couple meters away, you know.
Is that a live stream from the camera?
Yeah, no, not from the camera. That'll be it's pretty much live stream
what exactly
computer.
Yeah. Oh, okay, right.
Yeah. So it's essentially, you know, it's exactly
is that for stills or for video? Sorry.
For stills, yeah.
Okay.
So it, like, you can use it for video, but I've used it for stills. So basically it's just making the monitor a secondary screen without having that, you know, 40-meter, 50-meter cable running, which I find is just amazing. You know, you can have the monitor pretty much on the other side of the room, and then, you know, have everyone all spaced out, not having everyone, you know, staring right over your shoulder and stuff like that. So at the moment it's the iMac, the laptop, and then the secondary monitor is actually an eizo. So I purchased that from an old photography friend. So it's, you know, very color correct, everything's great on it, you know, it's got the name. So that's the secondary monitor. So I've also got a iPad which I run for the photographer. So pretty much I use Capture Pilot. So the photographer can actually, you know, scroll through images, look at images, zoom in, stuff like that. And they can be on the studio, you know, roaming around, rolling around, and the iPad's on wheels. So, you know, goes wherever they go. And then pretty much a lot of tether cables. Like I've got, what, 6 pairs of cables that I always carry around. So yeah.
A lot of redundancy.
2 are USB-C, 2 are USB-A, and then 2 are just like extensions for those cables, because, you know, first thing that go are the tethers, you know. And other than that, that's pretty much a basic kit, you know. Couple stands, couple stuff like that, C stands, you know, all that basic stuff.
How do you find battery life?
Battery life. Okay, so that's actually a good question. So in studio, that's, you know, no hassle at all.
Yep.
And then on location, so I actually have 10 batteries for on location. So yeah, I know.
Is that 10 of the type of battery, or 10 like different?
I'll tell you a secret. So those hyperjuices, I only bought 2 of them. They are very expensive for what they are, and I don't think, you know, I think if you want to buy them, you should just buy them, you know, 1 or 2, just for safety. You know, they are great, but you can find a lot of other cheaper options. So a photographer that I actually work with, they recommended me to get some Kogan batteries, and especially buy them during sales. So those ones on sale are $68, and they pretty much have the same characteristics of a hyperjuice, you know, one of those 100 watt, 130 watt hyperjuices that you can get. Yeah, 68 bucks compared to 300. So those Kogan batteries, they're pretty good. They last probably, for me, on a heavy load, 1 to 2 hours. So a heavy load would be streaming to an iPad and a monitor while also running captureone, Photoshop, stuff like that, you know, tethering. 2 hours, 1.5 to 2 hours. So
yeah,
that's 1 Kogan battery. And then I've got another.
You chew through the battery then?
What's that?
So you chew through the battery on a decent shoot?
On a decent shoot, yeah. So a normal shoot I'd say we'd shoot for 8 hours or so, with maybe 1 hour downtime for lunch. So 7 hours running, it would chew through, let's see, I'd do about 4 to 6 batteries at least.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Which, yeah, you know, I've got 8 Kogan batteries and 2 hyperjuices, which I carry around. Hyperjuices are great because if it's like, if the laptop is losing charge from the Kogan batteries, I'll just chuck on a hyperjuice and it'll just start to charge the laptop fully. Because the 16-inch MacBook, it is 100 watt, but the Kogan battery is only 87 watt. So yeah, that's the unfortunate drawback. But as long as you maintain charge on your laptop, you should be fine with those Kogan batteries. But yeah, a lot of bang for your buck.
Wow.
So I'd imagine when the shoot's finished, your job's not over. So
no.
After you kind of pack out,
yeah,
are you then going home and basically starting backing up and stuff like that? Are you, or?
Actually, so throughout the day, I actually run a program called ChronoSync. So this this is like a backup software that just, you know, you tell it where to go, where to end up, and then it'll give you logs and everything like that. So it actually runs throughout in the background. So I've actually set mine every half hour to run. So, you know, peace of mind. I don't have to constantly check, constantly make sure, you know. But yeah, at the end of the day, it would be exports and downloads. So the photographer would often come in and do their selects, and then what I'll do is I'll export what they've selected as the files for the client to review. Other than that, it's pretty much just
charging a whole bunch of batteries.
Yeah,
exactly.
Charging actually, it's I like to do my charging the day before a job, because the batteries, it's best to charge before you use, because
I suppose if you're charging that many batteries, it'll take you about a day to charge everything, right?
Actually, surprisingly not. Those Kogan batteries, actually, they're, what is it, those fast charging ones. So what is it, most of ones ever taken was about an hour and a half, maybe an hour 20. They're very good. So pretty much put on charge, a couple of hours later, all done.
So what I might do is I might get a bit of the gear that you use and actually put some links to it in our description this week.
Sure.
And so I'll cut the pictures in, and also I reckon cutting some of the links there to what you use and names of it, that would be really helpful for people. So I think it's really good at, like, the redundancies in your kit are significantly different to ours. And I think that gives us a different insight into what it's like from a different creative aspect in the studio environment. So a different role. I think that's really important.
Redundancies, I think for a lot of digiops, we pretty much carry 2 to 3 of everything, you know. Nothing's worse than something going out and then, you know, it's like clockwork. If one of the cogs stop, you're pretty much dead in water. It's like, you know, it's a lot different than, I guess, shooting in studio. You can pretty much go to the rental house and be like, hey, can I get one of these, you know? Can you just quickly, you know, step over, rent it, replace, that's it. But if you're on location, you're pretty much dead in the water, you know. Can't do anything.
What about you, Rob? What's in your camera kit? Give us a walk through what's in your bag.
Well, I pretty much looked at, again, I like redundancies, so I generally have lenses that will cover multiple focal ranges and also 2 camera bodies, be it mirrorless, 2 camera mirrorlesses, or 2 DSLRs. But that's, and lots of memory cards. I always have lots of backup memory cards. I don't always have a computer with me. What about yourself, Chris?
It's a lot more basic than your guys, but in mine, it's literally just so like for my vlogging setup, I basically just have 1 camera in hand to shoot on, and then a second camera to shoot my stills on. So I have like a Sony a7 III to shoot on, and then a Canon 6D for my stills, and then I'll also have a Mavic Air as well, and memory cards, and then sometimes like the Fuji X100V, I should say. So very different kits.
I think we'll go through our kits next week. Actually, we'll go through our photography kits next week. That's a good idea. Chris, thank you so much for coming on this week, mate. It's been really good to have you, and offered a really good perspective to what is something that we don't normally consider, being like freelance photographers. We don't normally consider someone who's a digital operator, and just that world of higher end kind of studio work and that kind of commercial kind of work as well, in and outside the studio. So it's been really interesting.
Well,
I look forward to seeing your actual setup.
Yeah. I mean, we're pretty much just glorified file management, I suppose. Like, I won't lie, some people ask what you do for work, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm a digital operator, and they're like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, put images
operate digitally.
Yeah, it's exactly, but yeah, no, I'm happy to talk you guys through, and yeah, thanks for having me on.
Beautiful. No worries, guys. Well, thank you guys. We'll catch you next week. See you later. Oh, sorry, before we go, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell for you to get notifications. Take it easy, guys. Catch us next week. Thanks again, Chris. See you guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.